So guys, welcome back to my channel Let's Work Security, and in today's video I'm going to solve week 9 of Hactify Cybersecurity Lab in sponsoring with Virtual Testing Foundation. So if the community or the staff members want me to take down this video due to some copyright reasons, they can just comment or mail me, or they can drop an announcement in the server and I will do so. And if you are here to watch the walkthrough, then I kindly request you to do the labs once by yourself, as this week's topic was SQL injection and it was pretty awesome. Yes, it took time to solve them, but yeah, I did so. So in short, what is SQL injection? So it's like executing queries on the backend side and tricking the server to you know throw the data out of the database on and print it on the screen, which should not be done so due to insecurities. And that's it. You can just read about it in the OWASP guide or the Portssugar guide. So let's just proceed with the room first, and if you haven't subscribed the channel yet, just do so. So now the first lab was string and error part 1. Let's just see what we have there. So here we have an admin login panel in which we needed to enter email and a password. So we don't need to write the correct email or password that we wish to log in, but we need to enter a payload in this. So we can use the payload as two different values. So first one that I found was admin double inverted comma followed by or, then again inverted comma 1 equal to 1. Now just copy these and paste it in here. I will just zoom in a little bit so that you can see the payload. So if you just log in, it gives us the admin details here. So this was a successful injection in this case. Now with the second payload that I used was double inverted comma followed by a space capital OR, again 2 times double inverted comma followed by a space, and another double inverted comma. So this returns the value true as well. So if you just log in again, you can see the email and password is shown here. So for an instant, if you just enter wrong credentials, what will happen? So in that case, we can do admin@gmail.com and the password as whatever we want. So if we just log in, it will show a blank one. So this was successful bypassing of lab 1. And before we proceed further, I want to show you two GitHub links from where I found the payloads for this week. So the first GitHub link or the repository I used was SQL injection payload list from a payload box, and the second one was payload all things. The bandwidth network is a little bit weak, so it will take time to load. So here you can just go to the intruder and proceed with the payloads. Like if you just go for payloads SQL blind, so just go to MySQL. You have MySQL blind payloads, or we can just go to exploit MySQL. Here we have another login bypass here, which can be used for the lab 1 and further. But I love this payload all things repository. In the intruders, we have multiple files. You can just go to auth bypass for the authentication bypass, and the flag or the payload that we used was this. No, sorry, it was. You can find that, or you can try out by on your own. So I will just give the link of this repositories in the description. You can just have a look. I'll just close this. Now let's proceed with the lab 2, that was a string and errors part 2. So let's just see what's in that lab. So basically for the lab 2 we needed to get all the data stored in the database on this screen, not only the admin but all the data. So for that we needed to place an ID parameter with some values in the URL here. So I will just do so. Let's just type a question mark followed by ID equal to, and in this case also I found two payloads successfully executing. So for an instance, if we just do a single inverted comma and press enter, so this says that a query is unsuccessful. This means the backend database or the server is vulnerable to SQL injection, as if it didn't return anything, or it says like a 404 error like not found, so that won't be vulnerable, but in this case it shows that it is vulnerable to SQL injection. So we'll just modify the payload, and if you just want to learn about more about SQL injection, you can just go to SQL injection try hack me page. That room is also very self-explanatory. And I also made a video here, as you can see below. You can just refer to that if you find any difficulty. So I will just close it as taking time to load. We will just proceed with the value of ID. So that will be as -1, you can say, a single inverted comma, and to select every data we need to get union and select. So this will select the columns, or sorry, the rows. No, it will select the columns and the data is in it, and it will join it and print it on the screen. So if we just do one and give a hyphen, so this is like commenting out in SQL, and if we just press enter here, it will show the select statement have a different number of columns. That means the number of columns present is different. If we will just give 2 and check it again, so it says no, it's not. So we'll just provide it as 3, it's not again. So we'll go with 4. As you can see, it says that we have 2 emails and 3 passwords. I don't know whether it was 2 emails present or it was present in the second column and the third column was password. So the first column would be the ID number, and I don't know about the fourth column what was in it, so I didn't check. I just modified the payload to get the data out of the database. So we'll just remove this payload from here. So that was just for checking whether how much columns are present. So the payload will be one single inverted comma followed by a space, a plus, small r, again double inverted comma, one double inverted comma equal to double hyphen for commenting out rest of the command. As you can see, it is spelled out on the data present in it, or the credentials stored in the database. So this is the solution of lab 2, and it was pretty easy. I also found the payloads in the GitHub repository that I have shown, and you can also try the track room also. It is recommended by me. So now let's move to the third lab, that is string and errors part 3. So let's just have a look what we have there. So here again we have to deal with the parameters, providing an ID parameter with some numeric value to get the data, and here in this lab we needed to get the data of the credential of the admin. So for that the payload would be somewhat similar like the second one, but we are going to use order, which is another keyword in SQL. So that will be id equal to 1 single inverted comma followed by a order by followed by 1 and commenting out everything at last. So as you can see, it gave us the email and the password of the admin. If I just modify it to show you how I know that this is vulnerable to SQL injection, if I just give a single inverted comma here and do so, it returns a blank statement. If I just do like this, it did the same work. So 1 followed by a single inverted comma is also the payload you can use, or you can use the order by also. So this was the solution of lab 3. Now let's move with the lab 4 as well, that is, let's trick them. So in this lab also we needed to gain the credential of the admin stored in the database. So here we have an admin panel. So the credential that I used was single inverted comma followed by a equal to double inverted comma or in small again single inverted comma. So just copy and paste it as the credential of password also. As you can see, it spelled out the database credentials, and this was the solution of lab 4. Now let's just quickly move to lab 5, that is booleans and blind. So this was a pretty much hectic one. Oh sorry, I just closed it. So this was pretty hectic one, but I was able to do so. Let's just go to the labs and see what we have there. So for this there was various steps I took to find the solution. So first let's go with the ID, as it's saying to provide an ID parameter and numeric value in the URL. So we'll just do ID equal to single inverted comma and check. So it's saying try harder. So I will just modify the payload as for now as 1 and see what does it return. It returns the credential of the admin itself in just a single value. And another payload type which I used in the first attempt was id equal to 1 equal to 1, so that it returns true in both the cases. And the third parameter would be like id equal to 1 in capital or 1 equal to 1 for returning true. In that case also we got the same credentials. So this were the 3 payloads for lab 5. You can use whatever you want. So now let's move to lab 6, that is error based or tricked. This was also something like I tested approx 20 payloads, but at the last I just gave time and understood what the lab means and solved it in within 2 minutes. So the payload that I used was like single inverted comma followed by a closing bracket or opening bracket single comma a. I hope you can see the screen well, and please don't make any mistakes in writing the payloads, which I was doing earlier. So I just copy this email and paste it in the password field, because we don't know which field is vulnerable to the SQL injection. As you can see, it successfully spelled out the data again, and we have the credentials here. So now let's move to the lab 7, that is error and post. So here also we are going to deal with a login section. So that was also very much similar like lab 6, as told in the Discord channel, that the payload would be matching but the values would be different. So the payload I found or I created was like a single inverted comma followed by or in a small, again single 1 and equal to single and 1. So let's just copy it and paste it in the password section and send it. As you can see, the server again is pulled out the data and we have our solution. So that was it for the lab 7, and for the lab 8 we needed to use the same credentials. So as you can see, the email is admin@gmail.com and password is admin123. So I'm going to use it in the further labs like 8 and 9 for the user agent and referrer section. So this is our lab 8. For this we need to use Bob shoot, so I have already started it here. You can use community or pro version as you wish. We were provided with the IP. I guess this was the IP of the local server we are connected to. This is not the IP of my personal PC. If you're just trying to do some pinging or hacking, that's waste of time. So here in this case I'm going to use bob2 here. So we will enter the credentials found in the previous challenge, that is lab 7. So the credential were as admin@gmail.com and the password was admin123. You just turn on the intercept and capture the request here, and now send it to repeater and forward and close it. So as you can see, it shows successful login and it gives printed out or reflected the content of user agent. So we'll just go to repeater and modify the content of user agent and see if do so in our case also. So I'll just maximize it. I don't know how to zoom in a bit, but never mind. We'll just first send it and see the response and render it. It's taking some time, so as you can see, it got rendered and it was printed here. So if I just enter a single inverted comma at the end of a user agent and send it again, you can see it says query unsuccessful. That means this server is or the backend server is vulnerable to XO injection. So if I just enter any text like let's break security after the single inverted comma and send it, let's just see what happens. So this data was also stored in the database, as you can see, it was reflected. So in that case, if we just enter a payload here, that should be reflected too. So the payload I used was double inverted comma followed by a or, double comma 1 double inverted comma equal to inverted 1. I will just remove this single inverted comma from here and send it again. As you can see, this was reflected and this is a successful payload, and it was said that if you can reflect your payload on the response side, that is also a POC. So you can just use this as a POC. Now let's just move to the lab 9, and it's referral led us. So we'll just visit that and maximize it again. We'll go to our stat lab, and here we have a login panel again, and we needed to modify the referrer at the last to get the data, or you can see response on the screen. So we'll need to use the older credential as we used in the lab 7, that is admin@gmail.com, and password will be admin123. I will just turn on the intercept and click on login. So we captured our request. I will just send it to repeater, forward and as off. We just send the request again and render it. You can see it was a successful login as the credential was admin@gmail.com and admin123, and shows that the user and agent headers file is the header section is reflected on the screen. So we'll just modify that section, that is the referrer here. Sorry, showing the it's showing the referrer, but it's named as a user agent. I just got a bit confused. So it's displaying the user referrer on the screen. So the payload, or we can just check it by providing a single inverted comma and check what will be the response on the screen. So it got reflected within the double inverted comma. So we can execute the payload also, like one double inverted comma. I will just give a space here, followed by capital R and double inverted comma with one within them or between them, followed by equal to comma and 1. So if you just send it, you can see it got reflected successfully, but it was said that truncated incorrect double value. So we just modified the payload again. So in that case, I will just remove this whole referral link from here and send it again. So as you can see, it was successfully stored and says successful login. So this was also a SQL type injection in our case. So that was it for the lab 9. Let's just move to the lab 10. I hope you are finding these solutions pretty useful. I just close it and move to lab 10, that is cookies. We needed to modify the cookies found in this page. I tried many methods and at last I found the solution. So it says username and password. So here we needed to use the username as provided, but it's not showing here. So the username was as, I guess it was not in this case. Never mind, let's just try if the username is accepted or not. So it was admin and admin as said, and it had the combinations, I guess, but it's not showing right now. So we'll just use admin and admin. We'll turn on the Intercept here and press on login. We have our traffic request here, send repeater, forward, and Intercept as off. If you just send the request from here again and render it on this screen, it's so successful login, I love your cookies, but why is it so? I haven't modified the cookies. Yes, I guess there is some issues. It should be showing normal like this, and we needed to modify the cookies stored here with the value admin. So in my case, it's showing that it is already logged in successfully, but this is not the correct method. So in your case, it should be showing some errors. So for that, you can just go to this PHP session ID, give a space followed by a single inverted comma. Now the payload was union select version, and another was user, and another was a database name, and ending it with a hashtag. If you just send the data or the payload again, so it should be showing successful login, I love your cookies in your case, but in the previous case it was showing that successful logins, but we need to modify the cookies. So that was enough for lab 10. If we just modify the payload here, we just copy it from here. If I just paste the payload here in this case and refresh the page once, As you can see, we are provided with the login username and the password and the system that we are running currently. So this was a successful injection and the solution for lab 8. So we'll move on to the lab 11 and 12, which was the most you can say it's as a hard and it's a medium, and everyone is having a problem in this. So for the first one, WAP, it's like a firewall which checks for the queries inputted and modifies it. So if you just go to the URL and give a parameter as ID and something like hello and check what's happening. So it says this site is protected. We will go back, provide the ID again and provide a single inverted comma and check it again. So it says it's blocked, so we need to find the parameters of the payload that are not blocked here in this case. So similarly, I tried ID equal to 0 followed by and ID equal to, sorry, it should be 1 here. I tried and ID equal to 0. So it's showing blank page. I don't know why now. We'll just go back. We will enter the payload again as ID equal to 0 and 1, and at last I will give a single inverted comma. As you can see, it's showing that is a syntax error, and this means this website is vulnerable to SQL injection. So I just got confused with the lab 12 and 11. So in this case, lab 11 not showing any response below. So now for successful injection, I just used or tried another payload, that is 1 plus capital R plus 1 equal to 1. So you can see this was blocked. So we'll just move with the final payload, which was ID equal to 1, as we can execute two IDs simultaneously and trick the server, followed by a single inverted comma to print or the respond as the invalid query. It will be union plus select plus 1 @ version and database. We'll comment out the rest. As you can see, we are provided with the login name and the password. So this was a successful injection in this case also, and this will be a POC for lab 11. Now let's move to our last lab, that is lab 12, and this video will end here, and next week I will release video for lab 12. So don't just unsubscribe after the week 10 is over. I will keep on posting videos regarding try-hacking and many other stuffs. So for the lab 12, it was another WAF or the fiber protected page. So I just used the parameter ID equal to 1 and commenting out each and everything, and it spelled out the data. I'm sorry, it didn't spell out the data in this case, so we will just proceed with Bob. Let's just turn the intercept on and refresh the page again to capture the request, send it to repeater, intercept is off. So we just send the response here, render it. As you can see, this is the page we provided in the first point of view. So for the solution, we will give the payload in here. That is the URL as asked us. That will be ID equal to 1 and commenting out rest. So if we just send, we are provided with the login name as dumb and the login password as dumb. So that's it for the week 9. So see you in the next video. Till then, stay safe and happy, and don't forget to subscribe my channel. Thank you.